Hey, dude, are you there? Can you hear that outside? It's the rain. All right, I'm doing some cool production value shit. And can I just say it is so crazy? I'm live right now. Bomb. The suns will also rise again. So technically that's like 3 planets, 3 suns in the frame right now. Thor News production value is getting better every day. Good afternoon. And I don't know if you can hear, but Tropical Storm Beta is outside my door. So I just thought I would hang out with you guys, sit down and say hello. Because as Planetary Defense Commander, I think that's probably a decent idea. Once a week. And I don't know if you guys know this, but things are definitely crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be doing like camera adjustments on screen now. Technically we're tracking backwards. All right, my face is super red. My head is super round, including my cheeks. And dang it, it's good to see you, baby. Congratulations on surviving this deep into September of 2020. Is this shit crazy or what? Okay, I have a list of topics I would like to discuss. Dues and tech. No civil war. Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto. Oh, Aztecs in the Spanish Inquisition. Lockdown, deja vu. And I know it's backwards to you, but that is because I want the ghost of Leonardo da Vinci to be able to read it. All right. Woo! FUBAR election. Dumb New World Order and peace. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 base subjects that I'd like to discuss. And someone, I'm sorry I forgot your name, man. My brain is freaking scrambled eggs. Like, I am so fucking burned out from going from December 25th eclipse to now as your Planetary Defense Commander. And we've had a lot of shit in between there, man. We've had plagues and hurricanes and volcanoes and the entire half of the Ring of Fire being on fire. People losing their fucking minds, like the giant narrative war. Well, you gotta be on Team A, who's like, this is all of our beliefs wrapped into one giant bubblegum piece. And you believe it all or you're out. And same thing as Team B. It's like all of our beliefs are super encompassed. And you have to believe it all. And I'm trying to be in the middle, trying to be like, hey, y'all. And same shit I've been saying for 8 years. Like, we got a lot of problems ahead of us as Generation X, the ones who will take over for the baby boomers. That Generation X has been pretty focused in on what the problems are between the past and the future since the 80s. It's kind of like brings us to our subject number 1. Direct energy weapons. Right? And so, one moment, please. I text with like 4 people on the planet. So anytime it goes off, I always have to check whoever the heck texted me. So that means it's probably important. Although I didn't read it, because I'm in direct energy weapons at the moment. I'll get to it in a second. Okay. My dad was in the Air Force. My stepdad was in the Air Force. I got a sister, Air Force. Best friends, and my mom was in data security for like 3 decades before it was even legal for women to be in InfoSec. right? I don't know. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, even in a personal circle, I don't know, dude. Like I said, my stepdad, my dad were talking to me about mutually assured destruction. That, like, it was a thing in the 80s when this Russia reunited, and it went from like the Gorbachev to a Putin era. It was like everybody kind of hung out in this mutually assured, like everybody avoided World War III. China avoided it, Russia avoided it, Israel avoided it, Iran, everybody avoided it. And then so, you know, so after 9/11, the whole peace on earth thing got totally deterred. Because from like 85 to 95, everybody's mind was focused on, all right, the whole world is coming together. We are shrugging off poverty, racism, hate, fucking white supremacists. Like, everybody in the 80s agreed that Nazis were bad. There was no, like, Nazi sympathizers. You didn't have large groups who were, like, playing devil's advocate for why Nazis would work in any fucking logical capacity in 2020. But I'm sure, yeah, you had like 1% of the people were like, yeah, Nazis are cool. But like, they didn't get into the cool parties. They didn't, like, nobody sat down and talked with them for more than 3 minutes. And so sure, it would like take place in people's, you know, and that doesn't count the Operation Paperclip shit on the flip side. What's it talking about? Oh, direct energy weapons. So in 1986, one of the greatest films, asterisk, ever made, came out. It was called Real Genius with Val Kilmer. And Val and some of the greatest minds at Pacific Tech had to figure out a laser beam and weaponize that shit to graduate Pacific Tech to like MIT of the Silicon Valley before Silicon Valley existed. Right? This movie was badass. Super. I definitely would not be Planetary Defense Commander without that movie. Anyway, so the whole movie in the mid-80s was like lasers. We've had laser tag, man. Where they're like, you can make neutral lasers. And you can go around and shoot each other like cops and robbers. I guess that's a bad term. I would say cowboys and Indians, but that is definitely a bad term. I guess there's no real positive context to people shooting each other. Unless it's in a Rambo kind of way. But those situations rarely manifest themselves in real life. What's it talking about? Yeah, so I'm, like I said, I'm fucking 13, 14, 15, 16, and I'm doing a lot of research on nuclear war, world-ending war, the state of technology, where it's going. So I'm hyper-focused, Harry Potter fucking plugged in on planetary defense at like age 13, age 14, age 15. So like I'm 15 years old when they're making this movie about lasers that can blow shit up or melt it or cut through steel or statue heads. Right? Cheers. And that there's this, as a 15-year-old, there's this clear-cut understanding that like, hey man, I love my fellow Americans and my fellow Earthlings, and that all these dumbass wars, asterisk, we fought before us, like we gotta give that warring shit up. And it's just not a natural human progression once you get to the technology we have and the population we have for everybody to just argue and fight each other all the fucking time. It just makes no fucking sense. It's dumb. And you can use whatever bullshit theory or religion or archaic philosophy you want to, but it's just never made any sense. And that I've been saying that for 8 fucking years. That for 8 years I've got on a camera and said, hey man, you can't continue to take steps into war with this old system. And so a lot has happened in the 8 years since I've been doing this. One thing that happened was we all collectively, whether you knew it or not, we avoided World War III in 2015. And then I think we avoided it once or twice in 2016. We avoided it a couple times 2017. Definitely 2018 and 2019 has been. And so, my fellow truth community peeps, I don't know, for the last few weeks, I hear everybody talking about direct energy weapons. I'm like, hey man, I get that like 6 planets are retrograding, but you guys are going way too fucking far back. You know? They're like, yeah, we've known they have fucking lasers that can do amazing laser shit since the mid 80s. And that for like the 18th time, our president and commander in chief, Donald Joseph Trump, he mentioned today that F-35s go invisible. And people always make fun of him like, he's so dumb, he thinks an F-35 can go invisible. I'm like, hey man, well, here's one of those instances where I totally agree with the President of the United States that like, yeah, bro, F-35s go motherfucking invisible. Not only that, they can project over the F-35 whatever the fuck they want to. So if they want you to see clouds or blue sky, or every single crush I ever had in a bikini on a surfboard in the sky, they can make you see that, you know. Versions of invisibility exist, or pixel control. Like some of the biggest tech geeking you will ever see, if you're looking in the right places, goes into what you can do with light and lights. And shout out to the people who made the Spider-Man movies, because I watched Far From Home the other day. It was like I needed a vacation, so I signed up for the Stars free week just so I could watch that movie. But it was great. And they did the kind of thing with Iron Man, where they admitted in Iron Man that they used smoke and mirrors with a lot of the Middle East stuff, asterisk. I don't know if you saw Iron Man. And the kid in me was disappointed because the Mandarin had these cool magic rings. So I was looking forward to this battle between Tony Stark and technology magic. Oh, there's the equinox coming up. Thanks, phone. Anywho, they were like, no, it wasn't technology magic. The Mandarin was more Halliburton. No disrespect to Halliburton. What was it talking about? Anywho, so I watched Amazing Spider-Man from Home, and it was amazing because they had, like, Mysterio had that kind of pixel generation anywhere, and we used to talk about it back in the day, Project Bluebeam, where they can do amazing things with the red, the green, the blue, so they can almost make it to where you could see almost, and then throw in pareidolia and how the human brain and eyeball itself fills in shit on its own based on its own preconceived notions and all the zillions of Rorschachиan patterns that have crawled through your brain. Is it talking about, oh, one thing. Yes, oh, I've gained weight. Because Saturn went into Sagittarius in like 2015. And so since 2015, definitely since 2013, but definitely 2015, it's like I've been in Harry Potter, dude. Like real fucking life Harry Potter. It's been real life Harry Potter since 2012. And people are like, you can't do that. You're a Christian. And I'm like, well, I didn't have any fucking choice. When the world gets super Harry Potter around you, or the world gets super Matrix around you, or the world gets super, you just roll with the fucking punches. And so we have all these mythologies combining. And I guess I'm lamenting the fact that as me, Thor of Thor News, a guy who loves to have good conversations, a guy who loves to think about ideas, a guy who loves to let my imagination run wild. Like, the whole weird conspiracy gunk, crap, horseshit, bullshit, donkey shit, machismo shit that gets slopped on fucking everything, preventing us from having good discussions about anything. Just seems like whether we're talking about life on other planets or the technology that we have at our disposal, that like all conversations are fucking ultimately limited because someone with some bumper sticker that leads into a hole pretty much puts an end to the fucking discussion. Where it's like Clue, where it's like it's Professor Plum in the library against the blonde with the big boobs and the little butt for the family will with the candlestick abra. And it's not that complicated. It's like three words of the deep state. Or it's like direct energy weapons, Antifa, George Soros, Illuminati, New World Order. Like what? This discussion sucked. And it's not that simple. Anyway, so yeah, I gained like 60 pounds since I started the channel. And 45 of them came when Saturn entered Capricorn and Jupiter entered Capricorn 2017-ish. And then I went into lockdown first for like 2 years, and then we all went into lockdown. And I tried to do the math, and where Pluto is, where Saturn is, and where Jupiter are in the sky, you can see them with your eyes every single night, except for Pluto. You can see Saturn and Jupiter though. Like that, this rarity of the three planets being on the same street is an 80,000 year rarity. Like this shit hasn't happened for 80,000 years. And so, like, of the shit that I warned for a year that would happen in 2020, it was like we had a couple years to figure out what all the fucking challenges were going to be that we're going to face this year. I don't know, so when the truth community is always like, hey dude, I found a direct energy weapon. Or, hey dude, they are doing weather engineering. And I, Thor, T, and Asteroid Fight Club, and Space Force, like, and Weather Twitter, like, we have been having an ongoing discussion about what they can and can't do, kind of like the invisible F-35s, with weather. And you can't just be like, all right, they're using some technology to do some stuff. You're trying to figure out the bigger overarching pictures and the sways and flows as when a new technology is introduced, nobody can figure out 100% how it's going to affect everyone when it post-invention. I mean, you can come up with some stuff, but not everything. There's always surprises. And so, I was like, before the year, I predicted for like 4 or 5 years, we were going to get hit by 3 hurricanes. Like every year, bam, 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 bam. And then before 2020, I like to try, if I give you responsibility, I like to give you as much responsibility as possible and just see how good you can do. And so at the beginning of the season, I was like, all right, here's the deal. I'm going to predict we are not going to get hit by any hurricanes this season because maybe the atmospheric defense team Space Force Astronaut Flight Club is that good, like we were last year. Although people in the Cayman paid, and then we didn't really do much to help them out after. Like nothing. And I remember that 85 through 1999, whenever there was a major tragedy, countries would always be like, we will help you out in this major humanitarian crisis. Man, that shit stopped like after 9/11. And so that like each nation or town or city would have to deal with their individual crises at that time. It's almost like who got the short end of the stick. And then the world would be like, we'll do what we can to help. Because country 138 got the short end of the stick this week. And so, like, I've said, yeah, dude, there's definitely, my opinion has always been, there's weather modification, absolutely, for sure. I don't think they have full control over the sun, the earth, the earth's core, the volcanoes, the earthquakes, the jet stream, 100%, like, and so they seem to be, you know, like great about preventing New York, New Jersey, New England, Philadelphia from getting hit with Category 3 hurricanes, which do exist at that latitude and longitude. But Louisiana definitely took the bullet, or they got the short end of the stick. Like, people have said to me, like, none of these storms were a big deal. Dude, the Sally that went through Louisiana is a big fucking deal. It did Harvey-like damage, if not more. And a lot of times, these places that do get hit, it drives out a lot of the low-income people, whether it be the fires or whatever, and then they can just change laws and rules, and they swoop in and they buy this land up pennies on the dollar. And so in some terms, and I've almost been in this discussion for 10, 20 years, to where with all the changes going on in the world, the less stability there is around, more people will come to Texas. Remember, this is something I've pretty much been saying, I think pretty much for 20 years. That I've been to a lot of states, not all of them, but Texas feels safe. Like, if you could be safe anywhere or have the country and the city within a 30-minute drive, Texas is a great place, has been a great place to spend the 2000s. And from 2020 to 2030, Texas is going to do well. And I've even discussed, since Houston got caught cheating in the World Series while I was living in Houston, since that 2017 period, and I'm on record through my videos, there has been some exterior, let me put it this way. I lived in Austin from like 1997 to like 2003. And when I lived in Austin, it was probably the greatest peak of any city, barring New York or Los Angeles once or twice. It was one of the greatest city peaks you would ever see. Of like, from that period, you had on 6th Street, you had 100 original bands every single night of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Austin was this weird mix of in the middle. And remember, at the same time, Alex Jones was on public access. And you guys may not be aware of public access. It came out before the internets. It came out before live streaming. Came out before video as you know it. But from like 1991 to 1996, I worked for a cable news channel that put out 24 hours of weekly programming to the 90,000 cable box holders in Arlington, Texas, which was in the middle of Dallas, Fort Worth, Denton, and Arlington. We had the Cowboys, we had the Texas Rangers, we had Wet n Wild, we had Billy Bob's, well, Arlington didn't have Billy Bob's, but I'm just saying. And then Dallas was Dallas. Anyway, so I lived in Austin for it was America's potential, what it could have been. And then what happened is after 9/11, you can go now, they poured like $10 trillion. They're like Silicon Valley moved to Austin, Hollywood moved to Austin, Bollywood moved to Austin, Europe moved to Austin, India moved to Austin, Saudi Arabia moved to Austin. I saw an inpouring of capital unlike anything I'd ever seen in my entire life. And the best way I could put it is, I was lucky. When I lived there in Austin, I was trying to be a screenwriter because I just left Hollywood. I was a screenwriter technically. And then I would be a doorman on 6th Street. And so, and I lived, I don't know, 2 miles from 6th Street, maybe 3. But during those 5 or 6 years I lived there, I walked up and down 6th Street. I don't know, it's like half a mile, all the way up where all the bars and places are. There's this hotel on 6 called the Driscoll. It's haunted. And every time I go in there, I just go to the bar. And every time I went to the bar, someone famous would be sitting at the bar. And then good conversations would happen. Like one night when I went to the bar, Adam Duritz from Counting Crows was there because his show had rained out. And so I ended up talking to Adam Duritz and arguing with him for like 2 hours. It was very weird. Really cool dude though. What's he talking about? Oh, and so on 6th Street, I walked up and down because people watching. You had the most beautiful women in the universe in Austin during that period. Bar none. Austin from that period of 97 through it was eye candy you wouldn't it was incredible. Incredible. But it was a cool place. And by being a doorman at one of the coolest bars with my best friend, we knew everyone who worked at bars all up and down 6th and 7th Street. Anywho, so they had this one pizza place. So what you did in Austin was you partied until 2 a.m. and then they shut the bars down. And then from 2 to 3 a.m., everyone would go to, there were 2 pizza places. So everything was shut down, which kicked everybody out at 2. So you had I don't know, 1,000 to multiple thousand people on the same street. But they had 2 pizza places that were open till 5 a.m. And one was called Hoax. And the thing was, it was just in a red brick wall. And then they had ovens up front or in the back. And then they had just the slices place. And the guys, so it was just all you had was, they would give you your pizza and hand you your money. They'd give you your slice. And behind, they just had the ovens and the punk guys, we're talking like bald tattoo guys playing death punk metal at like 13 out of 10 decibels. But like their pizza was the best, and there's one other pizza place that was open, I forget. But that was all it is. You go up and you get your slice. And so, if you were gonna people watch from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. on 6th Street, down by the pizza places, me and my buddy Jack Steele, we would always go get a slice of pizza at like 2:30. And for example, like I saw Jessica Biel. I don't know if you know who that is. She's Justin Timberlake's wife. When I met her, she was shooting Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Austin. But she was just standing on the street, and so I walked up and talked to her. I made her laugh like 3 times. Anyway, she was gorgeous, but she's tiny. But that was kind of, you never know who you were going to meet. And that was one place. But when I moved to DFW, I went back to Austin in like 2012, 2013, I don't know. But the very next time, I went like 5 years after that at Hoax, where they had punk death metal, literally way too loud. They should have been shut down. So I got to go back like 6 years later, and this is after $10 trillion was pumped into Austin. Maybe 10 years later, somewhere like around there. And you could just see they pumped in trillions of fucking dollars, man. And like live music, everything changed. South by Southwest, like at the beginning, it was more of a music festival. And that's what I'm trying to say, that like when I was in Austin during the greatest 6 years of Austin's history, from 97 to 2003, the big crossover, the last time Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct, Alex Jones was on public access. So he would do a public access show on the weekend for like 2 hours. And I had a girlfriend who I lived with at that time. We were together for like 4 years, lived together for 3. And it's not counting the bad stuff, I love living with her. I love having a girlfriend, living with a girl. Anyway, we would smoke pot and, watch the public access television, because you had the show with no name, which was great. Like, it was YouTube before YouTube, dude. And it was Austin in its prime. And then you had the Austin Music Network. Like, so it was YouTube before YouTube, dude. And we used to watch hours of it. And Alex Jones has changed 1,000% since 1999 to now. And I was there in Austin watching hundreds of hours of public access with my girlfriend back in the day. And the weird thing about it was Alex Jones was the one guy who was like, the Twin Towers are going to fall next month. And nobody knew then, because nobody was like, what? But the only person that predicted on the planet was somehow Alex Jones, who 20 years later, or 18 years later, was making $40 million a year fighting the fucking Illuminati. And so it's a weird arc to go from $1999 to now. And the whole truth community, like I said, it went from we are searching for the truth to trust the President of the United States of America. And it's trust Republicans. Now, I don't believe in Republicans. I don't believe in Democrats. But I remember 2000 to 2008. I remember where the towers fell. Like I said, I was living in Austin. I sat in the road, super freaked out, smoking pot in a median, reading my Bible till the sun went down, playing my guitar. I couldn't play very well back then. Oh, you know, it's weird, come to think of it. Thank you to Jen, Guinevere. She bought my first guitar, I think it was the year 2000 or it was 2001. That was when I ever got my first guitar ever. It was the year like 2000. I got it from a place called Mars Music in Austin. They used to have multiple big music stores. They used to have multiple big bookstores. And then there was the whole thing where George Bush stood up on the pile of smoldering rubble. It was like, we will defeat this together. We will face it together. And everyone was like, yeah. And then 4 years later, both Republicans and Democrats were like, we've decided to invade Iraq, even though they had fucking nothing to do with 9/11. And if you look at oil prices, oil at like 1999 was like $1 or under $1 for like 100 fucking years. And then 9/11 happened, and gasoline and oil, gasoline was $1 a gallon. I remember I used to have a Honda Accord, and it used to cost me $10 to fill it up, and it felt like I got 400 miles on that thing. But I just always remember paying like $10 for fill your car up. And it seemed fair. It was $1 a gallon of gasoline. So in short order, under the gas and oil rulership of 2000 Mars Oil, all the shit on TV, all the narratives were pretty much trying to figure out how to keep everybody fighting and how to make gas as expensive as fucking possible. And so from 2001 to 2020, we've seen the price of gasoline go anywhere from $2 to $5, or California 6 or 7. And so for all everybody's political fucking bullshit, for all the fucking people who always think they're spouting out fucking truth, for the truth fucking community, and that's been it. All the bullshit everyone's buying, it's all been about oil, gasoline, and war. I've been saying this for 8 years. So whether it be Biden or Trump, neither one of these baby boomer dudes has mentioned the fact that we have been stuck in a fucking oil and war rotating door since the year 2000. And one of the most poignant conversations I had with my stepdad, and he was a missile silo commander for intercontinental ballistic missiles. When I was trying to figure out the end game, the big plan, he looked at me and said, they don't have a plan. And so, for all the weird, dumb, bullshit conspiracy theories that are fucking out there wasting everybody's time and energy, it does seem like the overriding factor is let the free markets figure it out. Now, for whatever dumb shit, bullshit, bumper sticker people are pushing upon other people, the overriding theme has been let the free markets figure it out. And that the controlled opposition has been there to defend the free markets. And I've had conversations with multiple people in the past, anywhere from 2015 to 2020. I was like, how long y'all think you can keep this shit up? They're like, 30 years. And that was like 25 years. And then the plague hit. And China and India are mad at each other. So, for subject number 1, direct energy weapons, is what I'm talking about. Is just that, like, I'm tired of... Look, dude, I started Asteroid Fight Club to help educate, inform, and prepare people. And that definitely, from 2015, we have narratively retrograded to our communication systems are fucking garbage. Where if anyone tries to do anything that is perceived from one side, they get accused of being a pedophile. If anyone is trying to stand up, say one thing for one side, they get accused of being a Putin puppet. The one side's either deep state baby eaters, or the other side is like Black Sun Hydra Nazis. And so that all conversations have been pretty much controlled by the biggest fucking trolls on the planet. And so this is me just talking about how frustrated I am as T, your planetary defense commander. Like, dude, it's like we can't have a decent conversation about fucking anything because it somehow always reverts back to like I said, point out which bumper sticker is it. And let me go back to saying this whole 4-year discussion, 5-year discussion about fighting the deep state. The stock market has gone from like 16,000 since Trump took office to 30,000. Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ. So at the time, everyone was being, or half the people were being sold, hey dude, this Alex Jones anointed truth community, American lover, patriot, he has been a king to the job creators. And they are the real VIPs of America. And that by having higher stock markets, you get more job creation. And so we have seen a stock market go from 16,000 when he took office to almost 30, although now it's like 27, 26 if we're talking Dow Jones. That's like my number one indices for my own personal reasons. Right? And that like, so somehow Elon Musk, whose stock went from like 200 to 1,400 during a pandemic lockdown, like that's great. Like somehow Elon's out there creating an X amount of other fucking badass jobs. Okay. But I think I've said things that can be perceived as or were negative about Elon. And so I got to give Elon credit where credit is due. Because he went on Joe Rogan's program and smoked weed. And so I gotta say that like in the last week, the energy is gonna be fucking crazy for the next 10 days. Super crazy, man. And so in the last like 3 days, I broke my vape pen that QAnon got me. That was like the best vape pen ever. I got it in like February. Remember when we were prepping for the next lockdown? When I had a list of like, what do I need? I was like, I need a badass vape pen that works. And then there's a traditional green, whatever herb is. And so I broke my vape pen, tore it in half a few days ago. And then just before making this video, I broke my fucking elephant, dude. And so as Generation X, I got to give Elon credit for just the whole shit of, if there was one major point the Gen X could make, it's that marijuana should be fucking legal. In the Bible, in the Torah, Genesis, 3rd paragraph says, I, God, give you all green seed-bearing plants. I, God, the universe, the creator, the divine architect, give everybody plants, green seed-bearing. And then you can run your car on marijuana. You can run hemp oil. You can run F-35s on hemp oil. You can power your Super 70 LED lights on hemp oil. You can probably cure a lot of shit with hemp oil. But tobacco, firearms, and alcohol have always been wrapped in that one control device arm. Like, what do people get addicted to? Tobacco, alcohol, firearms, super attractive women, and drugs. And so, if you look back and do your historical research, there have always been groups that try to control each one of those groups because they know you can control people if you control them through their addictions and weaknesses. I mean, think about it, like a human basic instinct is for like adults to be attracted to each other. Like, especially men. Like, seeing a creation of God that is a woman. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Mo Money. I still got papers, though. I'm old school, dude. Oh, and the A key on my laptop is now fucking up. So if you see any of my posts and at some point they just start missing an A. Anyway, so like, as a 48-year-old man, I still think one of the greatest driving forces of men has been the fact that, like, we are naturally inclined to desire affection and approval from women. And yeah, I know there are 10% people who are gay, and then it seems like there are 30% of people who are bisexual but hide it. But I'm just saying that, like, at some point, and I would say 95% of, at least 97% of all adults, like, desire other adults. And I still think the female is a higher art form than the male. So I think, like, a super desirable woman is desired by both women and men. Like, it's, in my opinion, it's easier for, like, a super gorgeous woman in her prime to make a female question her sexuality or want to make out with that lady as opposed to like, you know, if you have like Brad Pitt at no point in time, if I've been like, hey man, maybe it would be awesome to be anally penetrated by Brad. Okay. I'm almost about to get another beer. What I'm trying to say is this is like whole discussion of the last 20 years. I've watched Cheers like 3 times now in its entirety. Of that like men, like that's why most men get shitty jobs, or a lot of the things men do in their life is that so they can acquire a wife, or they can acquire a girlfriend, or they can acquire a mother, like that they make some subconscious choice that like I need a woman in my life, knowing it won't be perfect, knowing it won't be, but like if all the quests I go on, I'm going on a male quest that I'm gonna find me my woman or women, and they're like, so that is why I'm working hard at this shit job I don't like. That is why I'm selling all this bullshit shit. Thank you, Lion. Lion Wings, that is a cool name. And that, so for whatever reason, like I said, that has been turned against us by the media. Thank you, everybody. MH asked if all plants should be legal, what about cocaine? And I will get to that when I'm done with my whole. That's just one thing I would definitely like to say as I'm talking about direct energy weapons and women, that like there have been those times, like for example, when I saw Jessica Biel, and this was in like this was like 2002. Oh, I never finished my story. So on 6th Street, where I'd met Jessica Biel one year, when I went there years later, I was in like 2008. I don't even know when it was. I was walking, like 6th Street had changed. They'd pumped trillions into the architecture to where there was this old Chinese food place. It was more like Thai food, where like it became a diesel jeans store. Where diesel jeans were like $300 blue jeans. I don't know if you guys know this, but at some point in like 2000, they were just like, we're creating designer blue jeans. So men will pay $300 for their blue jeans, or just $100 for their blue jeans, or $200. And so they got rid of a really great food store, family owned, to put in a store on Guadalupe that sold $300 blue jeans. And I don't want to give any misconceptions. Thank y'all. Thank you and thank y'all. Thank y'all. Is that like, I probably spent $100 on blue jeans maybe 3 times in my life, and they were always Lucky blue jeans, called Lucky brand. And so if you undid the fly, it would just say Lucky You. And so like once every 2 years, I would buy myself $100 pair of blue jeans, but I always liked those pair of blue jeans. So I can't totally judge, but I would never buy anything, spend over $100 for blue jeans. If I do spoil myself, and I have done it, I haven't done it in years though, I would have spent $100 on blue jeans, although you don't have to do it nowadays. And then I watched the Michael Jordan documentary, and before I die, I definitely want to spend $100 on a pair of Jordans. I definitely want to own another pair of Michael Jordans in my life. That I played football from 4th grade to my freshman year in college, and somewhere at like 16 or 17 or 18 or 19 or 20 or 21, like I used to spend $100 on a pair of Jordans, and then I used to be happy when I was wearing my Jordans, and they were cool shoes. And one of my very favorite colors is powder blue or Superman blue, and so there are definitely 1 or 2 lines that came out with like black, and then the North Carolina powder blue in Jordans. I don't know. I'm just saying. What was we talking about? Oh yeah. So I go back to Austin. And Hoax, the pizza joint that was in the brick wall with the punk music and shit, they sold that. And they moved Hoax across the street on 6th Street into a place that had like sit down tables. And they had, I think, like punk sayings written on the wall. But it became like a Starbucks pizza place with the name of Hoax Pizza. And this is a true story. I'm going to get my next beer. I'm going to let you guys listen to Beta. All right, I swear to God this is true. So I go to across the street where this punk pizza joint that used to be in bricks and they just served you the slice. There was nowhere to go in or sit down. And so they moved across the street. The place was like 10 times bigger and it became like a Starbucks of pizza. And they didn't have any they didn't have music playing, I don't think. Anyway, but they did have where you could order a slice at the wall, meaning like the window of the place, right? And so I walked up to order a slice, and inside they had like a bar stools where I think you could sit. Then they had the like tables you could sit at. And so I'm freaking out that like the Federal Reserve had come in and had bought Hoax and then turned it into like Starbucks Hoax. It's HOGS. And sitting there, like at the bar, so I'm at the window right here and maybe like 6 to 8 feet away from me, is Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis. And so I'm literally having like a personal meltdown, like super emo moment, where I'm like cursing and like, fuck, damn it, why? And I walk up to the window, and I look down, and there's Justin Timberlake. I look over, and there's Mila Kunis. And then the moment got weirder, because she was so beautiful. Like, she melted my mind. I was like, is this real? Because she looked like French and Egyptian and Peruvian and Bolivian and Venusian, and like she was gorgeous. And I'm there, I'm like, fuck! And so Mila and Justin are like staring at me, because I'm just some guy who walks up to the window who's cussing his ass off. And so Justin gives me this look like, oh my God, is this guy gonna freak out on me? I'm famous or rich. And I remember giving him a look like, calm the fuck down, Justin. This ain't about you. This is about me and Hoax and my $1 trillion Starbucks world, Austin, now. No! And so I shot up, I'm a number one, finger in the sky, I spun around, I walked off. And so for like the last 20 years has basically given the richest of the rich, the end of the baby boomers, the generations in between, the inheritees, it has given everyone in the know, in the underworld, in the rich, in the tech, 20 years to front run the future and come up with a plan. And I have been here, boots on the ground, Team Earth, the whole way. And that 25 years of these discussions, I don't give a shit what fuck, like, bumper stickers just don't cut it anymore. Remember, the Aztecs ruled for like ever, a long time. And then the Spanish just showed up, wiped them out. Same thing with like all of North America, all Central America, all South America. And just so we saw like the very last decade, all the people that had done well, gotten to power, gotten rich, were really good at keeping the public confused. Well, they partied in the Alps, so they partied in the fucking moon clubs, or they partied in the sky cities, and they made fun of the poor. I went through this period where I kind of got to hang out with the out fringes of the underworld, for lack of a better term. I mean, I've done that a couple times in my life. But the post-millennial age, it was always weird where I would like show up and I was like a court gesture piece. And we're talking 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And so like one phrase I would hear would be go woke, go broke. And so like I would be sitting at a table where you could have like 12 people and they're all in the underworld and I'm not. And they would spend large amounts of time making fun of me. So I was like hanging out with some of the richest of the rich, the famous of the famous, the powerful of the powerful. And they spent a lot of time making fun of me. And I was always very confused. Because like that's the thing, it's like a king is not going to make fun of his peasant. Like, if you have some type of real monarchy system that, like, if you have your enlightened or your great, or your elevated, or like the idea that, like, some of your most powerful people would be that entranced or impressed by the fact that they could financially do better than the less fortunate. It's just the, like, I'm not using the words I should use. I guess what I'm trying to say is that in this war of the gods, and that we are all little gods. I'm a little god. You are a little god. Every human you know is a child of God made in God's image. You have 2 thumbs. You have 10 toes. You have 2 magical eyeballs. Your voice is a unique fingerprint of your soul. And I guess that's what, like, we have been in some weird feudal hierarchical system where all the different groups have found like personal superiority in the fact that either they are better than other people inherently, by being a Catholic, you are better than every other religion because you are the only one who holds truth and the keys to the kingdom. I mean, just picking a religion. Or by being rich, or by being famous, or even in the underworld. I don't know. That like, we've definitely, for the last 40 years, been in this period where people's self-esteem was built up by the people they looked down upon. And now we're here. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, as I've been trying to say on No Civil War, that since I made that video in like 2012 saying that the entire economy had changed and we were now in a beast and dragon economy. Very Game of Thrones, by the way. That saying like we're America, or saying China, or saying you're from Israel, ultimately we are in a corporate system where the free markets are making the major decisions. Someone said, thank you, Moni, that I need some mods. But I want you to remember that as I've been doing this, weather, space weather, and the truth community became controlled opposition political in 2015. And so you either had to join the truth community, grand solar minimum, Trump is king, cryptocurrencies will save us all, mini ice age. You either had to join that group or not have a YouTube channel and then just join everyone protesting and rioting and trying to sell a stupid fucking carbon tax. You always had to choose a gang. And I never chose a gang. I created Astro Fight Club and the Astonishers and American Bicycle Club. And that, so I think as we get, because remember, like, all of Grand Solar Minimum is, it's political. Everyone in GSM is right, pro-Trump. Everyone believes in a mini ice age. Like on the carbon tax, like human caused climate change, everybody's a Democrat. They believe in the new green fucking deal. They believe carbon taxes is somehow going to solve this shit. Like, you had to choose your fucking gang, dude. And less than 10 people had the strength to be like, look, I ain't joining your fucking gang, bro. I'm not fucking QAnon. I'm not MAGA. I don't have beliefs that fit right for fucking. And so that is what I am disappointed by, is that like both sides, like everybody has to pretty much agree with everybody on the exact same shit. Where it's like storm fucking troopers. What color stormtrooper are you? Are all your beliefs blue or all your beliefs red? And that has like never been my shit and never will be my shit. And I definitely am sick of baby boomer fucking leadership. From Carter to Reagan to fucking Bush to Clinton to Obama to fucking Trump. I'm done. It's like having parents, man. Where like my parents, where I'm 48 years old and I'm still being fucking controlled by my parents who get to like decide if we get to have parties or decide if people get to get along or decide what everybody fucking believes. That as a 48-year-old man, I am fucking sick and tired of baby boomer vision. And this is no disrespect to the baby boomers. I'm just fucking saying I watch rock and roll, comedy, friendship, everything get fucking slaughtered at the altar of divide and conquer, gas and oil, American Cold Civil War. And so the people that have gone in hardcore and not only joined a gang, but became a leader in those gangs. Like, it is very obvious who has bet all their chips one way or who has bet all their chips the other way. And it has always been part of my shit that, dude, I'm here for a Earth family. I have been here the whole time, and I'm trying to lead us towards teamwork, family, peace, better days, working together, new power grid, stop world fucking wars, feed everyone, improve stuff, bring back rock and roll. What's up, my MAGA brother? I'm not MAGA though. See, like I got my MAGA friend, Alex. We disagree on a lot, especially these days. So I'm just saying that the chat, though yes, I need moderators, but the chat gives people the chance to reveal who they are. The person that sent me this book about Christianity's great dilemma. Who is the writer? And that's the thing about anonymity. That the whole Silicon Valley political divide and conquer, I have been a big proponent of everyone has one internet account. And so whatever the fuck you write, it is under your name. I have pretty much had one Twitter account, one YouTube channel. Like, I have had one personality, for better or for worse, here with you. I've not hid in the shadows or tried to troll or tried to use propaganda under anonymous fucking sources. And so many people have. And so who was the writer? To whom was he writing? About what is he writing? Why was he writing? When was the writing? What was the writing? What was the context? What were the circumstances at the time? What did the words mean to the original recipients? And as I was trying to mention earlier, that since 2017 and the Houston Astros got caught cheating, there has been a large MAGA QAnon push in Houston. And technically like a fucking, what feels like a battle, and then like Elon Musk joins and Joe Rogan, where it's like, whatever the whole MAGA fucking wave has been for the last 5 years, they're like, it's coming to Texas. And the whole thing is that, like, dude, I am not betting on Biden. I'm not betting on fucking Trump. We need solutions that are much bigger than anything anyone is fucking talking about. And so it has been I'm aware it has been a political and economic and psychological movement for 5 fucking years. And I definitely believe Texas is bigger than any president. I've spent 95% of my time in the state. And I haven't traveled out of state in years. And so I'm just trying to say is on the moderator, like, people are going to be losing their minds over the next 40 days. That all the people whose identity or future or have political stakes or economic stakes, that I have watched 60% of adult Americans join this fucking political religion cult on both sides for the last decade. And I have wanted absolutely no fucking part of it. That I believe I am cooler, smarter, and funnier than Donald Trump. I believe I am cooler, smarter, and funnier than Joe Biden. I do not mean that disrespectfully. I'm just telling you that, like, no part of me feels the need to worship or even at this point study these two men. Like, last week I got fucked up studying the fall of the Aztec Empire. We are now learning more about planet Venus, planet Jupiter, planet Saturn, Ceres, the asteroids around us, the sun, the moon. That is the shit I want to learn about. I'm so burned out and fucking tired of politics that advances no one's knowledge or imagination or ideas. That's like where I'm at for the next 40 days. But I recognize that there is going to be a war for the fucking narrative. And it, like, if there are so many people from Australia, New Zealand, England that have tentacles in our election. And I don't know what's going to happen next. You had Israel sign peace accords with 2 different Arab states, which in my opinion is a good thing. You also had Israel go back into lockdown for 3 weeks. I have predicted we are going back into lockdown in October. And so when I make a hardcore prediction that I've said for months, and I have not changed my stance on the fucking coronavirus, so I don't have to really repeat it again. And we will just see if I am right or if I am wrong. And all the time, like I gave, like, if I gave you guys advice, I said, try not to argue. What's the fucking point? Try not to fight. What's the fucking point? Like, if someone is breaking into your house, sure, defend yourself. But there's no reason to get into a fight or argument with anyone anywhere other than an actual conflict. Don't protest. Dude, politicians aren't fucking listening to you. You know, they're just not. Protesting's a waste of fucking time, man. 2020 is a waste of time and a waste of resources. I believe the rioters are paid. I believe they definitely have agenteurs who are creating for television content that both sides can flip on, or like that's just been part of the whole fucking game. We go back to Tony Stark and Iron Man, where they basically admitted, hey, Osama bin Laden was a fucking actor, and forces behind it was the military industrial complex and the whole oil push for 20 years, man. Like, Iron Man basically came out and said it. Captain America came out and said fucking Hydra and the digital age. Like, that's what we're fucking dealing with. We got Thanos, Loki, Red Skull, Ultron, Cthulhu, Lilith, Ares, Aztec fucking heart-eating gods, skinware. Like, dude, everybody showed up for the War of the Gods. Like, every spirit and soul is like here now. And during that time, in the last 20 years, we've sacrificed like 65% of all the animals on the planet. And for me, waking up into 2020 every day is like the weirdest fucking shit ever. I wake up on a broken couch, have been locked in this fucking foxhole for 3 years almost. And it keeps getting darker and angrier, and there's less funny shit out there. There's less cool people out there. There are less people talking about cool, interesting stuff. And most of the shit that I would like to talk about, like, it seems like 99% of people aren't even ready to talk about it because they've been so hung up on level 1 information They're nowhere near where I'm at. And so even if we want to talk about, like, I could go on and on about the Supreme Court, dude, that like the same people who are like, hey, politician will save us, or believe in the political party. When the Supreme Court voted that corporations were human beings, I like tapped out of all the political shit so fast. The Supreme Court ruled that corporations are people. That Coca-Cola is literally a fucking person.
Hey, Thor, let me get a shout out.
All right, MAGA just called for a shout out. No, it's MAGA. I gotta close the door now, like I said. That there's a tight MAGA ring around me. Like I said, I know Q, dude. I love Q. Oh, he went crazy, and that goes back to the whole woman thing. Like every single time I've tried to put together a group of talented, smart men who could be a team of leadership and could represent Americans, it can be super undercut by the most beautiful women on the planet. Like in my 30 years of trying to build, whether they be for bands or movies or videos or saving the world or Asteroid Fight Club, whenever I try to put together groups of really talented, cool people to just be really talented and cool and radiate coolness into the world, just like Eris, the most beautiful women on the planet can always come in and disrupt all your shit, without a doubt. And so there has been a targeted attack on pretty much every single alpha male out there who could end up moving towards good leadership. So that, like, this is like classic Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu basically said, like, women were the best. If you're going to have a spy or a saboteur or agent tour, women are like 100 times better at it than men. Although you can then flip the internet and Sun Tzu on its head, and then you can accuse men of being the super horrible power players, while in actuality the women are more powerful. You know, so it's like we've been trapped in some weird psychological warfare that has been about getting the stock markets high, getting oil high. And so, like I said, I just want to have the peace to open my door so we can listen to the reign of Tropical Storm together. And I have a MAGA person who I consider a friend, though our relationship has been strained the last year. We used to throw the football together, me and Alex. And so I have been big on, we need a 10-year plan. Thank you very much, Michael. That, like, whatever weird battle I've been in with MAGA or Grand Solar Minimum or QAnon, that, like, at the end of my fucking day, I'm like, yeah, we need to feed everybody. Jesus or God, like, all the resources are here to feed people, and that we are all fucking family. I remember a pre 9/11 world, and that like we gotta stop war. That in the 90s, we believed that world peace was coming next. And then the media and the internets spend the next 20 years convincing everyone that anyone who doesn't believe what you believe is the devil. And that somehow scripture backs up people treating other people shittily. That I still cannot express how disgusted I fucking am at, what is it, there are like 30 million people in California. I would guess at least, like 10 million of them are non-political carriers, but that like you still have millions of Republicans on the west fucking coast. Mike fucking Shapiro lives in California. That like the mentality that like I can't even count how many times people have said, let the liberals burn or kill the fucking liberals. You're talking about 100 million people and it's just like, it's so fucking crazy. It's like, okay, so if you were like some great Aztec Nazi dictator and you were gonna just get rid of all the fucking liberals, like what type of a basis would you use? Like, would it be they have to believe in it, get rid of people who don't believe that it should be a woman's choice for abortion, get rid of people who have sex outside of marriage, get rid of people who don't think that Trump is the greatest president of all time, get rid of people like, get rid of people who don't like, I don't even know how people draw their lines of hate. They're like, it's so confusing. But I do know that I believe and warned that we spent a decade where the left hated the right and the right hated the left for a fucking decade. And they demonized both sides, and we ended up with a plague. Like, we spent 2010, 2020, where one half blamed the other half for everything that ever happened that was wrong. And then 10 years later, we ended up with a fucking plague. And that I vote like no on civil war. And that definitely like, maybe one day I will sit down with Alex. He has a YouTube channel called Predator Poachers where he catches predators. And he does some amazing ballsy work. And that I like him as a guy, but like, one of our main disagreements is on the mask. And it's like I said, I've tried to get everybody, especially Texans, like, dude, just wear, my mom made me a mask. Just wear fucking, like, everybody wear a mask for 3 months. Don't give me no conspiracy shit bullshit. Like, we're all Space Force now. And as your commander, I'm saying, all right, certain locations, everybody's got to wear a mask. That is like the main, and be cool. Those are two things I'm asking. You got 20% of people like, no. And so it prevents us from at least getting a full, crystal clear data set. Because no matter what, A, the mask is not going to fucking hurt you. And B, Wall Street is going to do everything they can to keep everybody confused and try and front run, ride out, and make money off the fucking virus, whatever it is or isn't. That, like, the whole point of this video is that, like, whatever you believe, I still firmly believe that at this exact moment, the free markets are in control. And so that the $1 trillion army you've got that protects the free markets from humans uniting, from humans considering each other human beings, from humans deciding, you know what, we need a power grid. And that's like the whole, but still, like, it still gets, and it has become like a movie to where, like, the whole weird thing about, like, MAGA and Grand Solar Minimum cryptocurrencies, we're like, man, nobody knows what the fucking sun is going to do. Nobody knows what the moon is going to do. Nobody knows what the stars are going to do. No one I saw predicted that Betelgeuse would undergo massive dimming since 2019. There is a shit ton we do not understand about this universe. And so at any time trying to draw grandiose conclusions about shit 30 years from now seems to be a totally failing endeavor. And that we have watched the sky go from like 3D, I love y'all, to like 5D over the last 8 years. And that, like, cameras existed before 2012, but how many photographs have you seen of sundogs and super crazy sundogs since 2012? The, like, post 2012 sundogs are like a billion. Photos, a million. Pre 2012 sundogs are like 6. So yeah, I vote no fucking civil war. I'm tired of I totally represent free thinkers who have their own opinion. And that if you have an idea that is different than group A or group B, you shouldn't have to face a giant fucking buzzsaw of targeting and trolling and harassing and just a pure wall of hate. But it is very Mandalorian because to me, I love the fact, even though I've been trapped in here and I don't have a car and I'm always broke and this tooth cracked a little, that, like, I haven't had to join a group where everybody agrees with everybody on everything. Where, like, you can write an entire 10 million people all their same beliefs on one sheet of paper. Like, yep, everybody in our group believes all these super key points. We've done whatever we could to homogenize everybody's thought process. And free thinking is definitely not a fucking loud. But we get to cheat and be like, hey, direct energy weapon, deep state. Stock markets are through the roof. And I'm tired of, as a collective, just being dumb as shit. Not having conversations. And I've said, dude, I said this in 2014. You know what I would love is if, like me, Suspicious Observers, Dabu 7, Dutch Sense, and BP Earthwatch sat at a table and just talked for 4 hours. That would be like the coolest fucking thing ever. Asterisk. And I definitely don't want to fucking talk about politics. And let me say this again. Even if Trump is reelected, he's a lame duck after 2 years. And that he doesn't seem to have any giant ticket ideas like, we need a new power grid. We need to build new cities. We need to build infrastructure of the future. We need, like... And I don't live in that fantasy land, bro. We need big ticket ideas. And we need the people who can unify and heal people to be given a platform to unify and heal people. And I'm so fucking sick of the like negative Christians who are like focused on the end times or focused on the tribulation or like they're focused on all these reasons why we can't improve how we treat each other. And so we're at the like event horizon of the future. And that Biden or Trump are not these great grand leaders we have been looking for. I think they're out there, they just aren't given a chance to unite the people. You could have had a major program since February where all Americans figure out how to feed each other and take care of the people who keep the supply chains open. We could have spent 7 years preparing how to figure out what the next year and a half. We did not do that. And another thing, like, we used to talk about hyperinflation, like that was how zero hedge started. Zero hedge, when it started, was all about investment, Wall Street, stock markets, interest rates. And then zero hedge became like godlike productions, and it became a political tool, just like the truth community. But one of the reason I started Astro Fight, one of the reasons was the biggest fear was hyperinflation. When they print too much fucking money and the money just breaks. It's happened 33 times throughout history. It happened last in Zimbabwe in 2001, where the currency hyperinflated. It happened in Weimar, Germany, before Hitler took power. It happened in France before Napoleon took power. It happened in China before Genghis Khan invaded, where like everybody just gets so into making and creating money, the money literally fucking breaks. And I think part of the creation of cryptocurrency was to buy us more time. Where we all saw the like Phoenix currency that they predicted would be here in 2018. Well, we didn't get some type of unifying Phoenix currency. We got cryptocurrencies, which is kind of like if you combined money and the stock market. But definitely since the year 2000, I think the national debt in 2000 was $3 trillion. So we are at like 27 trillion. If you combine the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, it's like $33 trillion. So we've spent 30 trillion over the last 20 years. And so that is why I've never bought into the fight against the deep state, is because if the main tool you're fighting the deep state with is higher stock prices, that don't make no fucking sense at all. And George Soros isn't even the top 100 richest people on the fucking planet. Anyway, I guess I should keep going on the list. So we were at direct energy weapons, and that's what I want to say. The whole weather modification. Okay, direct energy weapons, I can talk about that forever. That like, dude, they have so many weapons that could kill people or kill you or kill. They have so many destructive technologies out there that it is one of the main reasons I think I'm still alive, because I'm one of the few people who pushes for peace. And that we are stuck in a mutually assured destruction, unspoken agreement not to really war with each other with the real technologies available today. And that is probably between like 300 to 60 different groups. That if my greatest calculations, if you had to boil it down as much as possible, you have at least 60 control groups. 60 groups who are heavily invested and have large teams or resources out the fucking wazoo. And definitely more real estate than anyone you've ever met. Things that got me in trouble. I pretty much spent 2017, 2015 to 2020 almost guaranteeing y'all 95% chance, I said for 1,000 days, you were going to see the west coast of the USA just on fire. Where it looked like you had multiple volcanoes erupting. And so there were definitely multiple times I had people like, hey man, we own millions and billions of dollars of real estate on the West Coast from Washington to Idaho, Nevada, California, and we do not like you telling people that. We do not like you recommending to the public that they should definitely move out of California. Or at least have the choice of like, hey, but shout out and thank you to all the prayer warriors, angels, warriors who have kept me alive. Because it definitely seems like there have been a lot of times people wanted me dead. Which gets us back to the no Civil War shit. It puts me in a weird position. If I'm not super Republican or super Democrat or believing in politics or the political system in any way, technically the people who want to get rid of the left, I fall under the left because I'm in the middle. I'm not on the left, I'm in the middle, but I'm to the left of wherever the fuck they are. And so when they get to a point where like they want to get rid of people like me, that's just a bad deal because I'm like Earth's good luck piece or one of them. So shit is definitely weird, but this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction is huge. You and I have been going through this 80,000 year cycle together. Like we all showed up for this big grand transition dance together. And that free will, action, choices, thoughts, imaginations, ideas matter. That you are a player in all of this. You have power. And a lot of money has been made selling people for the last 20 years that we cannot work together. And Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto have been in Capricorn. And Capricorn, like, literally represents the old system, the elderly, the wisdom, like, tradition. And so the fact that we have two baby boomer presidents only offering up a band-aid on an old 200, 300, 500 year system under lockdown conditions is not a big super surprise. and that the overall situation seems so tenuous that over the next few months and year and a half, we will decide our future. And that is very exciting. And that we have the most to gain from working together. And that's just not bullshit lip service. It's the situation we're in. And it feels to me like, just like we manifested the plague, or like I guaranteed y'all, I didn't know exactly what was going to go down in 2020, but it was going to change the way we lived. And that the more we try and force the old system now, the like bigger the next big event is going to be. And just like Jordan Maxwell had put out a video saying, there's some crazy shit coming from space in October. I'm gonna get another beer. And that, look, dude, I don't know who's gonna win. It is my belief that the hackers have been like one of the number one power groups for the last at least 8 years. And that I do not believe Trump colluded with Russia. It was more of a collusion with Silicon Valley. And so knowing there's a digital middleman in between who does get elected, I don't know what is going to happen. I mean, I don't know. Oh yeah, that gets back to the whole QAnon and I, back in the day, had a good discussion. And QAnon's a group, by the way, so when I say that, it's with a grain of salt. We had a good discussion back in the day about Scalia. Remember when Scalia died? How did he die? He choked on a pillow. I'm not trying to make a joke about murder, but he was an extremely right-wing Supreme Court justice. And one day, he went to a retreat with a bunch of dudes. And he ate a pillow. He died. And I do enjoy good conversations. So I do remember Q and I had a great conversation. So I was like, wow. And then he was like, yeah, wow. And so losing RGB or RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, 40 days before the election, having the Supreme Court go back to 8. I told y'all before that like two of the biggest astrological events outside of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction of January 15th would be the eclipse on July 4th, big deal. And then Mercury will go retrograde in like a week or two. And then it will station to go direct on the day of the election. The last time that happened was the year 2000. Where you had Bush and Gore tie, and you had the hanging Chad. Oh, I burped. And so I've warned y'all, like, I don't know why everybody's all bunched up about an election, because there's like 30% chance we're not going to have one. 50% chance, like, if shit gets so unwrapped, or for whatever reasons, there are like a million barriers into us just having an election where everybody goes and votes, and then they tell us who the winner is. And I know that like the prepper community has been calling for everyone to be prepped for the rest of the year and definitely post-election. I think it is an excellent representation of how super fucked up the system is. And I still go back to the free markets are in control. Let me get another beer. All right, now we're going to talk about levels of weird religious evil. Because I like to learn about shit. And so I was looking up videos on the fall of the Aztec Empire. And they pretty much got defeated by the Spanish conquistadors. But like the Aztecs, used gold as like an element of God, and the human blood and human heart, where they would just, as part of their daily way, they would sacrifice a bunch of people so to make it rain or to make eclipses or to make sure crops would grow. And the Spanish Catholics weren't like that as bad, but they did have the Spanish Inquisition around the same time. So they were then sacrificing people who didn't believe in what they believed in, and they were torturing them at the end of the Dark Ages. And so it was like they wiped out like 30 million North, Central, and South Americans to put America in place. That is some jacked up, fucked up shit, bro. That has always been some jacked up, fucked up shit. And so it does feel like we're at the point where we're trying to get past the people who sacrifice other people for their old stupid fucking gods. And we're like trying to get past them. And that is definitely where I'm at. Well, like anyone who spoke, any great leader, especially like Jesus, John the Baptist, you got beheaded, you got crucified, you got tortured. Like, if you tried to be a good man, you got killed and tortured. And so I've definitely been like, dude, it is totally time for that cycle to end. And many men before me have tried to end that cycle, and most of them got killed or tortured. So it has definitely always been a weird road to walk, bro. And so, like I was talking about, 60 groups. So you got like Aztecs here, Spaniards here, the Spanish Inquisition people here. You got the Hydra here. You got the good guys. There's just a ton of groups. It's like warriors, all the gangs together. And I go back to the whole moderator thing. Yeah, dude. I at least appreciate chat and the people who are being not cool when they're in chat with. You're getting to see the part of the teams and the forces that I'm up against. Like they're always trying to poison the well. They're always trying to prohibit anyone from having ideas other than the ones they believe in. And it's definitely some crazy fucking shit. I've had so many people threaten to kill me over the years. But I keep waking up every day. All right, so after Aztec and Spanish Inquisition, you get lockdown deja vu. And so Israel just went back into lockdown. Parts of the UK are probably going back into lockdown. I predicted that we will go back into lockdown in October. There was weird CDC shit today. I'm not going to go too deep. You guys should know how I feel. Because like I said, that is such a fucking cesspool. And I want to say, like, the people I have made fun of the most this year have been the people who talk about vaccines. Because at no point, I've almost guaranteed you, at no point in time is anyone going to offer you a vaccine. So talking to me about a vaccine is a total fucking waste of time. It's like talking about a fake alien invasion. Like, I'll handle that situation when that situation gets here. If there are 8 women who with lightly green tinged skin that show up on my doorstep as their spaceship hovers down and they're like, would you like to join us? I will make that call as it happens. And me speculating on alien invasions now seems dumb because it doesn't seem like one of the problems we're dealing with. Same thing with a vaccine. Like, there's a giant industry talking about and speculating about vaccines. Well, no one I know is going to offer me, you, or anyone you know a vaccine in 2020. So there's no real fucking point in talking about it. You know who likes to talk about it? Wall Street. Every 2 weeks they say we found the greatest vaccine of all time that will allow you to have Taylor Swift concerts 3 months from now. And then 2 months later, like, fuck, our vaccine crippled some dude. We gave him a vaccine for the flu, and now he can't fucking walk because all of his spinal fluid dried up. So I ain't worried about vaccines. But like I said, it's one of those like BuzzFeed, like New World Order vaccine, and then the conversation just gets dumber. I don't know, man. It's like dumb Hydra. It's like Hydra is out there. They're dumb. They're rude. They're mean. They use racial epithets, and their job is to make everyone dumber and angrier and more confused. Okay, FUBAR election. I think we covered that. Like I said, that with Saturn stationing, no matter what, I don't know what's going to happen, but I doubt it is going to be everybody's going to vote. They're going to pick a president, and then we're through it. Wall Street is doing everything they can to fund the people who are going to divide us, who are going to conquer us, who are going to make us confused, who are going to make us angry, who are going to make us focusing on blaming people and not solving problems. But just like the last time Pluto and Saturn, I think, were at this point, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire died. And the King of France died. This is 1771, so it's a big deal around there. And so I still think there's going to be major shit that happens, just like the plague happened, that there's going to be course correction all along the way. But October is like the month of death. I made a video back at like January 3rd or something, January 5th of 2020. It was like, look, with Saturn and Pluto conjuncting, death. It was just going to be fucking death. At some point in time, death is going to like be part of the main narrative. And then you got the plague and, hey, what do you know? With Saturn retrograding backwards in Capricorn to within 3 degrees of Pluto, we are going to get some, and that happens on the 28th before Saturn goes direct. We're going to get some resurgence where like death becomes the top story again. I don't know in what way, in what capacity. I definitely think the virus will be a clusterfuck for months. But I don't know if I'm going to survive October. I don't know if you're going to survive October. I don't know if your grandmother's going to survive October. I don't know if Trump's brother's going to survive October. No, he's not. I don't know if Ruth Bader Ginsburg's going to survive. No, she's not. She didn't. Kenny Rogers. Charlie Daniels. You know, that like, I don't know, we've lost a lot of people, and October is going to be a fucking brutal month where death is going to show back up like the ring wraiths or the Harry Potter perturbers, I forget what they were called. And so that death is going to be floating around for like 40 more fucking days in this war of the gods. And we're all gods, little g gods, with God as the great God. And Jesus as my own personal bridge between me and God. The politics is like a religion. And so the Republicans are like the QAnon, Republican MAGA, are like the Aztecs. And then the Democrats are like the Mayans. And Wall Street is like the Spanish Inquisition and Silicon Valley combined. And I am your planetary defense commander, Star-Lord, New Thor 7, the T. And so the end of 2020 is just going to be super duper fascinating, weird, scary, depressing, sad, with rays of hope. And then I've been fighting stupid Hydra since Godlike Productions. That I've literally been jousting with a lot of the same fucking people since the very first days in 2012, 2011 at Godlike Productions. I'm damn tired of fighting. And there is this whole, there's this weird aspect where I've talked about some of the most beautiful, attractive, talented women on the planet, that definitely during the last 5 years, just like Eris, they've been running around causing a lot of the alpha males to fight with each other. I mean, Selena Gomez had a song where she's like, hey dude, I'm messing with like 20 different dudes with their hearts and minds at the same time. So there's definitely been some aspect of, you have a group of women who've definitely been taking your movers and your shakers, whether they be Trump or SO or Elon Musk or Bezos or gay, like there has been a contingent where I keep drawing back to that, like, look, throughout all mythology, for whatever reason, at times the most beautiful women with the greatest speaking and singing voices had like more power than anyone, and they could launch 1,000 ships just with their face. And the millennials are weird. So it definitely seems like if you get the women to calm down and get their men in line, the men would definitely do better. Because I've never gotten divorced. I don't have any kids. But I feel like I've gotten a large displaced aggression, even over the last 5 years, where a lot of the shit that I've gotten has been because of that type of shit. I probably didn't say that as well as I should have. Where it seems like Venus can be bipolar. Where half of the time Venus is like, I love men. Then the other half of the time Venus is like, I fucking hate men. And they are the reason for every negative emotion I've ever had or bad thing that happened in my life. Although that may be more Lilith and Eris, but I don't know. I'm just saying, we've been fighting like a million wars on a million different levels and a million different layers. The fact that we have still held it together this long is pretty fucking impressive. And so, if bad guys did take me out today, I feel like I've done a good job. Give myself an A- to A+. Because just looking at the world's problems and saying, oh, you know who's to blame for this shit? That dude or that group. That seems to have been the very easy way out. Like oversimplifying things with no means to find solutions to problems definitely seems to be the easy way out, the road most taken over the last 5 years. So I'm talking about a dumb Hydra and a dumb New World Order. Like New World Order, that phrase didn't even exist before the year 2000. So the last 20 years has been all fear, doom, gloom, and end times conspiracy theories. Whereas Isaac Newton told us the world wasn't going to end until the soonest of 2354 or something. And so by keeping us in a mental divide and conquer war state, nobody has had chance to make good long-term plans because they're all fighting for their survival today. And so the last time Jupiter and Saturn were in the same spot, conjunct over each other, was the year 2000. And before that, it was the year 1980. So the world absolutely totally changed from 1980 to 2000. The world totally changed from 2000 to 2020. And so we are kind of over the last 40 days, 90 days, shedding the skin of the last 20 years. We are heading into the future. And I think I can. I think I can. I think I can make the world a better place. I think I can be part of the group that allows cooler heads to prevail. And I think we can pull out of this fucking nosedive. But like I said earlier, I think I'm cooler, smarter, and funnier than Trump and Biden. And so, if you believe either one of them are the greatest men on the planet, you may disagree with my assessments. But I definitely think Generation X has learned a lot and will help be the builders of a better future for us all. I got one beer left. And so I'm not a victim. But definitely for 8 years saying, hey, I disagree with everybody on at least one thing has been a weird road to take. And that whatever comes in October, November, and December, we will survive it. That is exciting. So that it feels like we're up against dumb Hydra and dumb New World Order. And that when people are like, it's a New World Order. Like, no, bro, it is like, let the free markets decide. And the free markets are like, hey, wouldn't it be better for Amazon to get rid of the post office? Free markets are like, hey, if we get rid of 10% of our refineries, can we get back over $50 a barrel of oil? Free markets are like, hey, if we get everyone to fight about wearing a mask or social distancing, we can add 23% to our base profit line. And that, so if you think that like one politician or one man is in control, I think you are wrong, and that right now we are kind of letting the free markets decide. And I still wish you guys could do imagination exercises with me. Where like all the people who believe that this was pre-planned, I would like you to use your imagination to think, okay, let's say in a different timeline, a non-planned virus was released amongst all the countries. How would that be different than what is happening now? Moni is talking about the storm in Florida. It was like last year, the same, like they kept the storm from hitting the East Coast. Although Nova Scotia, you better watch out. And last year, in my opinion, by figuring out a determined location, a determined date, and an intensity you might be dealing with, that gives Asteroid Fight Club and Atmospheric Defense Team a lot of information to work with to fight the challenge ahead of time. So just like with Dorian or with the storm this year, when they had a time frame of what, where, and when, it was easier for them to kick its ass. And so in a system of worst case scenario, hurricane season 2020 versus best case scenario, we are definitely doing way better than, even though Texas got like 3 places got hit hard and Louisiana took the worst hit, we are definitely much better than the worst case scenario. And so, just like with Beta, who we can hear now, that thank you, Ray. Shout out to Uncle Butch. This is probably why I'm drinking Budweiser now. His name was Raymond, and my dad's middle name. Okay, you guys gotta be careful, because I call upon everyone, like, do what you can to protect everyone, but definitely protect your town, your city, your state as best you can. And so, for whatever reason, although we did get hit by a hurricane, Texas, avoiding worst case scenarios, especially with Beta, the defense for Texas has been pretty great so far. So technically now with you guys, I'm celebrating the fact that Beta got torn to fucking shreds. Like, ever since that night, that Selena Gomez and me and the whole gang rock and roll night in Houston, there has been a pretty awesome shield around Houston and Texas. And so I'm technically celebrating the fact now with you that Texas is not getting hit by a hurricane. That Houston has not had its ass kicked. That Autumn and Corey have not had to deal with major flooding. So cheers. It's like, I don't want to talk about MAGA, I want to talk about Texas history. And Texas bowed out of the Civil War, so if there was going to be a Civil War, I don't recommend Texas seceding, but I'd much rather have Texas be like, hey, we don't want any part of y'all's fucking Civil War. So Texas is going to bow out. Good luck with your 49 United States. Maybe you can make Puerto Rico the 50th or 52nd. For example, I talked about how Austin, when I lived there from 1997 to 2003, was amazing. That, like, Portland is the 26th biggest city in America. And somehow they've been like the core of the narrative of most of 2020 since Memorial Day. Where, like, all Portland had to do for 100 days was act like the most angry, Asian tour, petulant child of all the cities. And so somehow Portland got all the attention. Like, yeah, I believe Los Angeles is cooler. Any city in Texas is cooler. New York is cooler. Probably even New Orleans is cooler. Like, there are a lot of cool cities. Chicago, for sure, in the United States. But for whatever reason, everyone's been like, hey, let us talk about Portland, the 26th biggest fucking city in America. I don't even think they have 1 million people. I forget the numbers. But the Houston metro area has 14 million people. If my math is correct. We have millions. Portland has a couple 100,000. But everybody's like, hey, Portland. I think I might be buzzed. Oh, another thing. Since I am buzzed, I would like to talk about me for a second. That Saturn entered Sagittarius in 2015. And so this whole, I have been besieged with Saturn energy for 5 fucking years. So for 5 years, no matter what I did or how it turned out, like, I would be losing stuff, I'd be getting my ass kicked, and so the last 3 of the 5 years, I have been spending more and more time in the foxhole. And so I have been boots on the ground in the back seat of the car with Saturn, Mars, Eris, Lilith, and Pluto for what definitely feels like 5 straight years. So I have totally fucking lost my mind. They're like 5 years of the all Capricorn energy. And remember, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter are in Capricorn. So it is fucking Capricorn heavy. So it is like spending time with 2 parents who are very unhappy with you, who wish you could be doing better, and pretty much you're grounded. And you got to do yard work every day, and you got to do your homework, and you got to study Latin, and you got to like... So for 5 years, I have been grounded. And so yes, I am frustrated being grounded. And Jupiter and Saturn will be in Capricorn until the 20th of December. And then they both go into Aquarius in the same day. Which that shit happening probably goes back 1 million years. Like hundreds of thousands of years. The idea that both, that's pretty fucking rare. Especially with Pluto where it is. And so I feel like I've had to be in the car with Saturn, Eris, VP113, Mars, Pluto for like 5 years. And then whatever I learn in the car, when I get my smoke breaks, I get to run out and talk to y'all. But I think the biggest note of the transition stage, if you want to simplify things, that like Mars is war. And that Venus, if you take out the Eris and you take out the Lilith, Venus is like Mother Nature, mother, grandmother. And so we are definitely seeing a shift. In 1999 to 2019, it was all about Mars all the time. And Trump and Elon are definitely 2 of the biggest Mars cheerleaders ever. But we have seen that the next 20 years to regain balance are going to be more about Venus. And that is wonderful. I love that. And there's a good chance I may be part of the actual Valiant Thor family. And so, even though I love Jupiter the most, I've literally got Venus in my blood. And so, in this battle of the gods, planets, Venus or the solar system may end up being the winner. And that is super duper awesome. But you are definitely, over the last few weeks, seeing more and more images and information coming about not only Venus, but even today, where they're like, oh, hey, they have a bunch of ice on Enceladus on the moon of Saturn. And so as Mars is retrograde, though we have been an Earth super focused on Mars for 20 years, that focus is breaking. And we are seeing that the solar system is much bigger than just one planet. And so that is great news. Like the Hayabusa telescope that has been following Venus for like 2 years from Japan, they put out a bunch of shit on Venus today. And so there are definitely signs that, yeah, the world's not going to fucking end, bro. I'm going to be here with you for 10 more years. And that me gaining 60 pounds during the time that, like, everything was in, like, well, it's kind of like this. Where that, like, I have been grounded. And so I have to sit in my room and work while everybody's out playing, well, before. But I get sweet tart ropes and Reese's peanut butter cups and then pepperoni pizza during the 5 years of me being grounded. Though I haven't been able to go out and play, I've been definitely able to eat the comfort foods of my choice, asterisk, during this time, including beer. And before I broke my vape pen and elephant, tobacco and fine tobaccos. Yes. And so we've always had this point waiting for us for the last 20 years of what would we manifest over the 20 years of Mars. So it is not a shock that, like, Earth is grounded in 2020. But the weird thing is that I don't think Pluto leaves Capricorn for 2 more years. So the average Joes, like me and you, we are all so ready and primed for the future. We are done with the old ways. We're ready for the new shit. But a lot of the people who have been entrenched in the underworld, it does seem like it is going to take them 2 more years to catch on to the times. Not all of them, but like some of them for sure. And so the next 2 years are still going to be interesting. Mikey T, I will read the email, my friend. And so that we know the next 40 days are going to be crazy. And that for me personally, like, I'm going to be, like, my nerves are frayed. I'm so burned out. Like, holy fucking shit, waking up in this foxhole every day is like some weird psychological trip that I can't even fucking imagine that. And the dreams usually before that are nuts. But I think we're going to make it. I think I can, and I think you can. But we're definitely going to be tested a lot. And there are definitely some big bosses that are going to show up, I would guess. And so it's like the ghosts of Christmas in Charles Dickens. Or you have the Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. We are still like grappling with all the ghosts of Christmas past. Excuse me. It's tennis ball. Oh crap, I dropped it. And I am definitely so fucking frustrated with old system thinking. Like I compare Donald Trump to like the Backstreet Boys. They came out, I don't know, maybe that analogy is not proper, but that like Trump has been a super uber American celebrity since the mid 80s. And so everyone has just been talking about Trump anywhere from 10 to 50% of the time since the mid fucking 80s. And so 35 years later, he's not as cool as Johnny Cash. He's not as cool as Jimi Hendrix. He's not as cool as Willie Nelson. He's not as cool as Mother Teresa. He's not as cool as Da Vinci. He's not as cool as Jesus. He's not like... I don't like spending 80% of my time or 50% of my time talking about one fucking thing. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but like if you like this video, I somehow got good at weather. And so in this video, I'm talking about the shit I want to talk to you about. The dues, the Civil War, no Civil War, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, Aztec, Spanish Inquisition, lockdown deja vu, FUBAR election, dumb New World Order, and peace on earth. Merry Christmas. I don't like sitting and talking about the same, like talking about vaccines for 5 years. I don't want to do that shit. I want to talk about the same shit. I don't want to talk about the new kids on the block for 35 fucking years. Especially if like all of rock and roll has been assassinated and taken the fuck out. Tanya Harding at the knee. But it has become a religion, and I definitely think those religions are gonna fucking crumble by the end of this year. That the 10% of people on both sides who have controlled the narrative, somehow the control of the narrative is absolutely gonna fucking crumble. That's a guess though. We shall see. But I appreciate y'all super duper duper duper. But I've had people say, hey, the world is going to end for 20 years. And definitely for like the last 7 years, people say, we're going to fucking kill you. And neither one has happened. And so if I can survive Saturn and Jupiter, going through both of my birth home signs of Sagittarius and Capricorn over a 5-year span, where I just get the shit kicked out of me all the time for being original with a sense of humor, a heart, and having an imagination, then I'm probably going to be around for the next 10 fucking years, man. I probably got trained, like this last 5 years has been like some weird Star Trek training for the planet. And so that I got trained, and a lot of the best of us have been going through some of the most grueling training process over the last decade to 5 years, just so we could help everybody else make it to better days in the fucking future. But I am punch drunk. And though I have not killed another man, I have the 99 yard stare. And the world has not ended. And I have not died. So I'm not going to make any plans like the world is going to end soon or I'm going to die soon. And I'm definitely sick and fucking tired of everyone who is always negative all the fucking time. And it always goes back to the shit about me and Godlike Productions fighting Hydra. Where Hydra's like, we know exactly what the sun is going to do for the next 40 years. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And they didn't predict the plague. But I would imagine being able to control the narrative is fucking like a drug. So if you can take the people and shift them one way or another, that has to be addicting. Someone said number one best memory growing up. And I can't do that because I've had so many amazing memories. I've gotten to be around so many amazing people in my lifetime. For the last for the last, 20 days, my dad passed away in 2006. Has been like on my mind constantly almost. And definitely standing on top of a mountain of snow with my dad or my family is one of the greatest memories of favorite things that happened. Standing on top of a mountain with people I love, getting ready to ski down. It was like my sister could ski, I could ski, my dad could ski, my mom could ski. And they made me learn skiing when I was like 3 years old, 5 years old. And I fucking hated it, but then I grew up and got good. And so and I was super lucky from like the age of 13 on to like I turned 40. I used to run with a bunch of when I was 13, I used to run with all the dorks, and nerds, and geeks because I was one. And we would make our own space games, Dungeons and Dragons games. And so anytime I hung out, even the football team, my friend, anytime I got to hang out with a group of super cool friends, people that I enjoy being around. Those are some of my favorite memories of all time. They're like hanging out with people I really liked or I loved doing anything are some of my greatest memories. And so I know people get into like cars and money and shit, but I've always been about, dude, if I got to hang out with cool people, that was the greatest gift ever. And in a pre 9/11 world, being able to trust people was like the coolest shit ever. There's a video from like 2015 that I put out where it was like Jack Steele and I'm sleeping on his couch. And he wakes me by playing the giant bongos. I don't know if you've ever seen it. But so I'm dead asleep, and then he just starts playing the giant bongos right in my ear. And then I wake up, and I'm like, what the fuck? And you can see, I instantly see him, I'm like, oh. And I'm like, I smell bacon! And so, having that level of why I could trust people, I miss that shit the most. I miss being able to trust people. I miss being able to crash on people's couch and then being able to trust that they would protect me and not fuck me over. It's just like a Rolodex of good memories over because I think with me and the people that I've known the majority of my adult life for 13 and on, it was always a contest to see like who could make everybody laugh, like who could be the funniest one that day, or who could tell the most interesting stories. And that swing back to Jesus, like, you know, there's this big thing about accusing people of who's a good Christian, who's not a good Christian. And so I think a big thing is the word. And so I, as a Lutheran, I've always, or raised Lutheran, that like you, how much you believe or are inspired by Jesus is a matter of who you are, how you speak, what you say, how you speak to other people. And so like I felt like it is a Christian responsibility to A, be a good storyteller, B, have heart, inspiration, love, light, belief in better things. And that you judge a tree by its fruit. And that men and women do not grow fruit, but they do speak. And they talk their whole lives. And so whether it be brotherhood or fellowship or friendship or being part of a great team, our family. I'm sure Most people have had some good Christmases, some good Thanksgivings, some good birthdays. Like, and it does take us back to all of these, where it's like at the end of the day, we definitely have watched all the basic bonds of civilization, family, and friends be totally ripped asunder by who the fuck everybody's gonna vote for in 43 days. And that my basic MO is, yo, dude, I want to tell cool stories. I want to make everybody laugh. And I want to ask questions that makes us all participate in the conversation based upon things we do not know. Whether it be the moon or planet Venus or the solar system around us or even God. And that mankind trying to define God has been one of the biggest stumbling blocks since the Tower of Babel. And so just as 500 years ago, Aztecs were convinced you had to sacrifice a bunch of people to make it rain, or the Catholic Church was sacrificing people and Iron Maidens to protect Jesus, like that our religion has always been like a cornerstone of hatred. And I'm not saying that Jesus is, I'm saying that like systemic religion has always done what they can to divide man. And so it makes sense that religion has become politics, or politics has become religion. And it all goes back to the like, when I say that I believe we are all created in God's image, we are all children of God, we are all filled with the breath of life. And that at the end of the day, who are you? Who is your character? Who did you become in 2020? Facing all these insurmountable odds and a crumbling world and giant factions fighting all the time. Who are you? I know that I'm cool and that I would totally love to maintain my spirit through eternity. And that I do believe I make the world a better place. And I know a lot of people have spent years talking about bad guys or negative things. And A, did you stop the bad guys? Did you stop the negative things? And for the last 20 years, I definitely feel we are all responsible for this shit show we are going through now together. And I get that it's easy and simple to say, I didn't do anything wrong. The other team did it wrong. I'm not on their team, so thereby I am great and they are horrible demons. That's some crazy Aztecian shit, bro. But I mean, there, I definitely believe that there are like anti-human, demonic, evil. We're dealing with some heavy fucking shit, man. And that, but somehow it is like the magic of life and God, somehow it has always beaten it back, and we have continued to progress forward through society and civilization. Cheers to that. And I definitely have faced an incredible amount of jealousy and envy. Even though I am broke and fat with a red face and missing teeth in the back, that the amount of jealousy and envy I have had to face, especially over the last 5 years, have been fucking incredible. And I feel like everybody wants to be king, and I just am king. And I believe we're all kings and queens of our own life. And that I don't have to, I just be me, and shit usually works out. But I would have never traded places with any other human being in my life. And a part of me likes the fact that I've gotten to fight giant gangs of belief systems and I have not lost. That to me is so cool. They're like, hey man, I'm just going to believe whatever I believe and do my best. And I like the fact that I have unique beliefs and I'm a free thinker with an imagination. And that I run up against people all the time who are like, I do not like you, I hate you, I want you to fail, I want you to die, I want you to be tortured, just because I do not believe what they believe. And a lot of times I deal with other people's shit just because they cannot stop paying attention to me. So they do not like me, but they can also not stop listening or paying attention to me. Like I said, I come on like once a week to talk to y'all and talk about whatever I got to talk about. And though the fucking energy sucks right now, I like my chances. I like our chances. And that during the 4 years of Obama, I did not bend the knee. And during the 4 years of Trump, I did not bend the knee. So cheers to everybody out there who's keeping it together. And cheers to Tropical Storm Beta. It's definitely been a good storm. Okay, so it was like hurricane season 2018. Someone who shall not be named invited me down to their house in Surfside, where the house is on stilts. And so I hung out and talked to them for a long time, and they were talking about building their own mini city. And so we were right at the ocean. I think we smoked and drank till dawn. And then the day after, when I was leaving, a very large country pop star, female, super hot, she showed up at the house next to us because they have giant porches at the beach. And so just as I was leaving, her and her boyfriend were showing up, and they had the worker people laid out like a bed. So on the porch, they could hang out on their bed at the ocean side and watch the sunrise and I guess make out and stuff. And there are always a bunch of helicopters along the coast going by. Anyway, that was a cool moment that I really, 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 really appreciated. And I definitely miss having days like that. Because pretty much all of 2019 and all of 2020, I've been fucking stuck in this fucking foxhole. And I definitely miss the days that I used to get to go hang out with people. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. And at this point, I would definitely guess that 33% of the people who had over $1 million own some type of property in Houston, Texas, or surrounding areas between here and Austin. The people I've seen run through the city in the last 3.5, 4 years has been pretty amazing. And technically, I think Houston's cooler than New York. But there has definitely been a push for they just want to make Texas red, but Texas is red, white, and blue. We have one star in our flag. And I think that star represents all of the stars that fly over Texas at night. And so the last 5 years has been a war for the future. And we're definitely in the bonus round. And that there are definitely men who are really good with hacking. There are definitely men who are really good with propaganda. There are definitely men who are really good with money. And there are definitely men who are really good with war. But I am really good at what I do. And so I plan to keep doing what I do as long as I can. Although shit's gonna get crazy. And one of the things that gets me in trouble is when I say Putin reminds me of James Bond. I hope I'm not wrong. But it definitely felt like from like 2014 to 2018, 2017, I ended up talking to a lot of Russians. And they asked me a lot of questions. But they always seem cool. They always seem cool. And if my memory serves me correct, most of the time they were like, "You're a good guy." They had that like Brooklyn 99 Captain Holt demeanor where you couldn't really read them. But at the end they were good with the handshakes. And then like, "You're a good guy." And so I guess at the end of the day, that is why I'm partially pro-Russia. I'm pro-everybody, but I'm saying that most of the Russians I got to meet seem like good guys. And I'm not saying they were fucking saints. I definitely got a super gangster vibe off of them often. But it's just like when you were judging what is going on in Russia, it is a lot like you judging what is going on in Iraq. And so I definitely think a lot of people have been doing the best they can in the situation they've been in. So I'm hoping 94% of people on the planet are neutral or good. And then only like 6% are total fucking evil bastard, asshole, careless, hateful, shot and fruity. And then, so yeah, sure, it feels like a part where there is a percentage of people who want to depopulate or have civil wars or have horrible things happen. But I'm still betting that that is not how it is going to turn out. That at the end of the day, we all recognize that none of us are self-made men or women. And that we are part of a woven fabric of family. And that for the last 5,000 years, we have kept it together. And I gave y'all a prediction that like in 2017, I said shit was gonna be fucking crazy. And that greed would be the ruling force until somewhere around September 2020. And so that was a prediction I made in 2017. I have stuck to it until now. And baby, here we are in the middle of September 2020. And I am here with you. The world has not ended. Civilization has not fallen apart. And I'm still alive. And so who will win the battle of the planets? I don't know. I'm hoping it's the solar system. I'm hoping that everybody falls in line. Just like kindergartners. Like, fuck, hold hands and take a step forward. Everybody at the same time. So yeah, technology, it's there. It's an issue. It's always been an issue. And no matter what tech you have, you still have 7 billion human beings. And any type of jump from like 7 billion human beings to 500,000 human beings, that would be a dumb fucking jump. No civil war. The civil war is controlled by the stock markets of the world. The stock markets that have been pushing oil and divide and conquer, they are sponsoring the fucking civil war. So like, just like race car drivers, that your civil war is being sponsored by fucking corporations and to let the free markets decide. But the bigger story is the fact that this Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto solar system situation is an event 80,000 years in the making. And that my mom is super badass. My dad and my stepdad, my family, my friends, people I have known. And so we have not lost. I was not raised to lose. I was not raised to give up. I believe that Jesus is forgiveness, light, love, family, friends. And so the solar system and universe and God are putting us in a position to prosper. And that just like in I Pet Goat, you're watching the three main belief systems absolutely fucking crumble before our eyes. And they are the three belief systems of the last 100 years, the last 1,000 years. They are fucking old. They're as outdated almost as the Aztecs cutting people's hearts out to make sure that it still motherfucking rained. Like, it won't rain unless we cut people's hearts out. And that the Catholic Church was the first corporation ever on the planet. And so who wiped out the Aztecs? The first corporation on the planet. And sure, yeah, if you let the free markets decide the future of the next 10 years, shit can go sideways. I believe if you go back to videos of mine from 2014, I'm talking about the Spanish Inquisition of technology in 2014. That goes to like the gray goo factor, which we do not want as a total fail. It will not get us to Civilization 1A Star Trek style. And that so the people who want to sacrifice anyone under 1 million or 100 million, and the people who are just trying to dominate everyone, somehow that is the big battle that is being fought. But I believe that good guys will win, just as Camelot fell in the year 1000, that a kingdom of peace and prosperity will rise during our lifetime. 1,000 years of peace. I'm tired of fighting. But the next 6 weeks, 40 days are going to be fucking crazy. And so all preppers have been like, hey man, prepare for crazy shit around or after the election. I'm just putting a different spin on it that like, yo bro, I've said since February, the virus will get stronger and people will have less patience to deal with it. So we're dealing with a clusterfuck situation in the winter. So just as lockdowns came back to Israel and come back to England, they're probably coming back here, bro. And especially letting colleges pretty much seed and feed that shit, it's just, it's almost a no-brainer. That's why I had in February and January, I said 100% chance of lockdown in March. And now I'm at like 90 to 95%. If they do go the herd immunity, well, I believe that Trump's brother died from the fucking coronavirus. And so if Trump is willing to fucking sacrifice his own brother, I don't want to be sacrificed. That's all I'm saying. But they may not do any type of lockdown and they may just have some horrible fucking shit show clusterfuck for the next year and a half. It's possible. Like, I can't eliminate that possibility that people just pretend like there is no virus, or you can push through and that 3 million dead Americans in the next 2 years is okay. And then you might have 40,000 Dow Jones a year and a half from now. But yeah, FUBAR election, no matter what, they have multiple things that they can use to try and continue to divide and conquer us to lay off more people, cause more chaos, cause more instability as the markets fluctuate and rotate around the same levels. They can continue to push for the old system as long as they can continue to push for the old system. As long as they can prevent unity and better ideas, they can continue to sell the old system. But that I'm convinced that it definitely has feelings of a dumb New World Order or a dumb fucking Hydra, where that the basis of whatever system is being pushed is hate or greed. And I've had people say like, hey, we will kill you if you imply that whatever our religious position of sacrifice is, that it's just about money, that it's much bigger than that. And well, like I recognize there's like a 1% to where it is like they're going to sacrifice people to Baphomet or Lilith or Aztecian gods or like whatever fucking, like, at the end of the day, that is still greed, because they still got to be like Aleister Crowley, that whole weird fat dude who got to live some life of fame and orgies and cars and good, like, you can sell yourself on one thing, but it's technically just about fucking greed, man. So I'm sorry if that opinion offends you. Narcissistic gods tend to have narcissistic followers. And they do not like to be reminded that their little g god is not that great or that fucking powerful. You know what I'm saying? And so my main mission has always been peace. I've been here for almost 8 years with you guys going, hey man, let's just stop fighting. Like, let's have a peaceful fucking decade. Let's have a roaring 20s that we could probably get to as soon as 2022. Technically, you could get there tomorrow if you got everybody on board. And that, yeah, we've never tried peace. We've exhausted all other options. And that if you take the public and the masses out of it, you still have 60 groups with weapons of dues and aerosol weapons and like weapons across the fucking board. Since I've been studying about weapons in my early teens. Then it doesn't become about a civil war. It's technically about a war of the corporations and a war of the technologies, which in 2014, 2015, I coined as the Spanish Inquisition of technology. Except they would not be unified as the Catholic fucking Church. And that whatever war Israel and Palestine or China and India are fighting, dude, these wars are hundreds of thousands of years old. And it's like every continent has their planet. And so that like a solar system was designed to have multiple planets, multiple groups, and that somehow they've all found their Roche limit. And they orbit in the same sky. And they share the stars in the heavens. And that to me, Earth feels like a place where all the planet representatives have shown up and are here now with us. And so we have to work it out. And that is super exciting. So yeah, that's where I placed my bets, man. I placed my bets on us all working together. And that to me, this election is about the baby boomer retirement party. And it feels to me, as a part of Generation X, that as the baby, like, that the people who could spent the last 20 years partying. But we're now at the point where we have to solve problems and figure out how to make it work going forward. And that I know I heard a million baby boomers repeat that they want to leave the world better than they found it when they got here. Well, now is that time. And there are 1,000 ways you could start to heal the wounds of an American pre-Civil War. And that I definitely do not think the election will be a salve solution to any major fucking problems we face. Although, I gotta tell y'all, like I said, I feel like I have been targeted and bullied by one particular team for a long fucking time. And so I've registered to vote. I'm probably going to vote. And it is just going to be like an anti-bullies vote. That you as Americans are allowed to believe what you want to believe. And you are allowed to vote whoever you want to vote for November 3rd. And so I will probably go and cast a vote on November 3rd. And it is not a vote for Biden. It will be a vote for anti-fucking bullies. And I should have that right, and you should have that right. So yeah, the same guys who've been hacking my shit, fucking my shit, stealing my shit, siphoning my view, like trying to prevent. It is basically going to be a personal choice of like, I am voting against those guys. I'm voting against the bullies of the last 5 years. And I think Trump fucking sucks at natural disaster response. And he really, it's all about him all the time. And so, I don't know. I do think it will be a sigh of relief just to not have him as fucking president. He was a reality star before he became president. He loves the limelight. He loves 80% of the people talking about him. He loves the attention. He like, and I think our country's bigger than one man. And that I don't think he has a fucking great plan. And that whatever was promised over the last 4 years, I was totally neutral on him until the middle of 2017. So, you know. And I think a lot of people will breathe a sigh of relief just to not have him be the one fucking subject everybody talks about all the time. I mean, he's literally said like multiple times that he deserves to be president for 12 years. That is some of the craziest shit I've ever fucking heard in my life. But no matter who wins, there's going to be millions of people who are upset, angry, and disenfranchised. I love y'all. Thank you. But yeah, if you're going to have a lot of theories, there is a chance that we have been being guided through this 10-year gauntlet to be ready for world peace. And so, like, you can be scared of world peace, but it definitely seems like a binary choice of, like, you can either not have world peace, so it's all negative all the time, or you can have a fucking earth truce where we all work to make a better world and make sure everybody is fed, has their lights on, a place to live. And so I definitely choose peace, dude. Like I said, all my greatest memories are with people I enjoyed being with. And so if the last few years have torn us apart, I want the situation that is going to allow us to come together. And I always believed that was what would happen anyways. That if we give up divide and conquer, that if we give up war, that if we give up worshiping gasoline prices and stock markets, humanity will flourish faster than you could have ever believed. And I don't fear that at all. I love you. God bless everyone. You guys are amazing, cool, and awesome. I will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening. I hadn't talked in a week. I had a lot to